Hello and welcome back to the OnlyAccies podcast. Lots of games to talk about, lots of things to talk about, and joined as always by my co-host Brandon. First of all, Brandon, I suppose, how are you feeling about what's going on at Accies on the pitch? I mean, it's quite a difference from a few weeks ago.
It's massively different. I think we'll forget about Saturday, but it's been night and day in comparison to the start of the season. And as we kept saying all season, the Standard League's pretty shite. Have a wee drink. And with only that, you only needed to have a wee run of games to completely change the sort of complexion of the word, but it changed the whole dynamic of where you are in the league and perception of everybody else, and that's what's happened. We've went on a run, been the most formed team in the league, and it's completely changed everybody's mentality, I think, of what could be the end outcome of the league, which is all we needed, really. Obviously, forget Saturday, but we seem to have turned a corner. There's still lots of improvements to be made, I would say, but I think there's a lot more confidence in amongst both the fans, but also everybody within the sort of squad, etc. now, because I think the vast majority thought we were dead and buried, and now that's certainly not the case anymore. Yeah,
no, listen, I completely agree. I mean, I remember saying, I think on the last podcast, I said, I still think the best will get is playoffs, and I'm going to stand by that for the moment, but there's no doubt kind of our little run of games, you know, this bit of form we seem to be on Saturday, obviously didn't go our way, but we'll get onto that. I think there is a much, much better possibility. I still think Cove will pick up eventually. Under Paul Hartley, I do think they'll pick up. And Arbroath will always be a team that will grab a point here or there when you least expect it. So not writing them off completely, but Friday, which we'll go on to in a bit, is the biggest game of the season so far. But we'll go into that in a minute. Starting, let's reverse back a few weeks now. Let's go to the SPFL Cup semi-final, which we'll talk about the final in a little bit. But a 2-1 win over Queen of the South, and it didn't go as we thought it was going to go. Let's say that.
You could probably say that. I think over the course of the full 120 minutes, I would say we deserved the team to win the game, but it would have been nicer to be a lot more comfortable.
Yep.
I think we made it hard for ourselves. Don't think they really done that much to sort of lay a finger on us. I think it was more so that our standard performance wasn't to the level which it probably has been, sort of. But again, it shows that we have turned a corner, because if that was earlier in the season, we had a poor standard of play, there's not a chance we'd win the game.
Yeah.
So we've managed to not play at a certain level but still come away winning the tie, so that's what matters. So obviously it was unfortunate I went the full 120 minutes, because obviously we played, I think it was like 3 games in 7 days, or 3 games in 6 days, sorry. So that made it a bit tough on us, but we won the game and we're in the final, so that's what matters.
Yeah, I agree. I think that was the type of game where even a few weeks ago we'd probably have lost it. I mean, you have to say Marvin Bartley got them working hard, and I think as the game went on, as we progressed into the second half, they really started to tire a bit, and that's when we started to get a little bit more control and kind of start to really dominate the game. As you said, you would have preferred it didn't go 120 minutes, because there was a few times in that extra time when I thought Dylan McGowan's going to pull a hammy.
I thought,
Do you know what I mean? Something's going to happen here, and again, Dylan McGowan's a talking point for us later on, but I thought that's going to happen. So thankfully we got through that unscathed, and we moved on then to the Scottish Cup, which we will come back to the Trust Trophy final, by the way, because that's something we want to talk about later on. But the Hearts game, how did you feel going into it? Because for me, just quickly, I didn't see the game. I was driving, but it sounds really horrible to say, but I expected a loss going into it. They're the third best team in Scotland, I would say. So I never write Accies off on a one-off game, right? But I don't know, I just went into that and thought, yeah, we're on a good run of form, yeah, the confidence is high, but will we have enough to overturn the third best team in the country, in my opinion? So when I saw the result come in, I kind of thought, expected, I get it. The Scottish Cup isn't our main focus anyway, given where we are. So I'm not super fussed without the Scottish Cup, to be honest. We just got into a final, we were in a good run of form in the league, that's what we needed to focus on. So that was my thoughts of it.
I think you're pretty spot on, because I just wanted to make sure we went into that game with that was a third game in 6 days. We're already in a fairly decent run. I just wanted to make sure we got through that game unscathed injury wise, but also not humiliated, because
completely.
When you're on that type of run, the thing that you really don't want is to have something stop you in your tracks and sort of get for instance, if Hearts went out there and beat us like 4-5-0 or something like that, that would have been it would have been hard for the players to sort of bounce back in the manner in which they have after the Hearts game, the next game after that. But we went into the game, I wouldn't say Hearts were particularly that good. I don't think the first half especially, it was very, very easy for them. They didn't need to come out of sort of first gear, if I'm being honest with you. Second half, there was a period for, I'd say, about 15-20 minutes max where we were looking dangerous, and we've obviously got that confidence from the previous games, and we took it to Hearts a bit. But they've got the second goal, and it's been a deserved second goal. I think 2-0 is a very fair result. I don't think we deserved to get anything out of it. No. But we didn't get pumped, we didn't get injuries, and I think we gave a good account of ourselves by all means against the third best team in the league, especially from where we've been majority of the season. We still need to remember that we are second bottom in the Championship, and we were sitting there for fucking nearly 6 months with 2 wins. Do you know what I mean? So to go toe to toe with Hearts to a degree it was pleasing to see. And Scottish Cup isn't our priority. At the present moment, it hasn't been this season, I'd say.
And you mentioned the game straight after that. You were one of the very silly people who made the journey up to Inverness. I mean, again, I feel like I tweeted this the other day. I feel like I've missed so much football recently, but away to Inverness, talk me through it. What can you remember first of all?
No, like I think I've mentioned I've mentioned a few times. I think I said it in the last podcast as well, and I've said it in previous ones as well. Those are the type of days and games that make it all worthwhile. Going through the fucking hardships and the hard times and the just far more negative moments than positive moments, but it's games like that and days like that just make it all worthwhile, because that feeling that you get is just it restores your faith in life, and that might be cringy to say, but it fucking does to a degree. It was amazing. Like, I went on about how football's an escape to so many people, but that was just everything about that day, game and night just encapsulated what it's like to be a football supporter of your local team. It was just phenomenal from the get-go, and it was you saw the celebration and stuff like that, and everything about it was brilliant, and the fact that we went up there and absolutely pumped them was just made it even more sweeter. But no, it was a brilliant victory, and I don't think anybody expected it to be in the manner in which it was. On to the actual game, first half, I think we did ride our luck a wee bit, if I'm being honest with you. They had a few chances where so did we in the first half, but they were probably a slightly better team, so I'd say we were lucky to go into half time on level. We've then came out and we've been a different side. We've went 1-0 up, but then Fulton makes an absolute unbelievable save, and after that I think that save was a changing point in the game for me, and then from then on it was just it was all about Accies, and we got the 3-0 obviously.
What do you think Rankin's saying at half time? Because it seems to be like a pretty consistent thing, and a few fans mentioned this to me on Saturday, as the first half we seem to be quite defensive almost, sluggish, allowing the other team to have the ball, and then second half we seem to come out and be the total opposite. We seem to be very attacking in the second half, and that went against us on Saturday, but that game seemed to be another example of slow the first half and then kicking on the second.
I don't know if it's to do with us being slow or if it's to do with us being more fit. I know obviously Rankin came in at the start of the season and talked about the fitness levels and getting players to a certain standard. I don't know if that's partly to do with it, because maybe the other teams are a wee bit more tired than us, or I don't know what it is, or if they just get a fucking rocket up their arse or something at half time, they get absolutely grilled. But I totally agree, it does seem to be a sort of common theme of recent, where if we've managed to go into the break not getting beat, then we seem to come out in the front foot. Even if we're getting beat at the Hearts game, we came out in the front foot as well. So, don't know, there's obviously something getting said at half time. Maybe the players have started to realise that I don't know, mate, but
need to get ranking on again for
need to
a
find
part
out.
2. Talk to me though about Lucas de Ball, because he was out. He seemed to be outstanding again. Didn't see the game, but he seemed to be outstanding. He was in the team of the week as well after that game, and we've always been big advocates of him. We spoke a lot about him last podcast as well, about how he's finally started to settle in and showcase what he can do. So talk to me a little bit about Lucas de Ball, how he's been the last few weeks.
He's just been a part of. Like, it's obviously frustrating that we're having this podcast after we've just been pumped off Queen's Park. But no, he's been unbelievable, and obviously, as you said, I've been a very big advocate of his. I know a lot of people say never fall in love with a lone player sort of thing, but even all the fans getting behind the Lucas de Ball song and stuff like that in Inverness, it was just brilliant. And no, he's different class, and it's no surprise that he's a young prospect for a fucking English Premier League team. You can tell that he's got that extra bit in him, and I think he's definitely one of the better players in the Championship, and I do think you'll see him start to flourish as the years go on, and we've been lucky to have him in the red and white.
And we backed up that 3-0 Inverness win by welcoming them then to Hamilton 3 days later, Tuesday night game, and again we come away with a very important 3 points. 2-1 victory, not as easy as the 3-0 seemed to be. What I was surprised going into the game was Inverness had an unchanged lineup, and I thought initially that was strange because you've just been beaten by this same team 3-0. All the comments on their lineup announcement was, well done Billy Dodgy, you kept the same team, blah 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 blah. But I can also understand it from the standpoint of they've all got something to prove now. But I did think it weird that their right back played on one leg for about 60 minutes. But a 2-1 win, I mean, I'll say this again, talk me through it, because it was full of emotion. Let's say it was a very stressful game.
It was a very stressful game, but again, it's one of those ones that there was not a hope in hell would win that early on in the season.
Completely.
It was a very frustrating game. There wasn't a lot in it, I don't think. Again, but we managed to battle through and get the win. I think we could have made it a bit easier for ourselves. And it seems to be that a lot of teams, and we'll probably go into this with the Queen's Park game, a lot of teams are exploiting certain weaknesses in our team, and they're picking up on it very easily. We're making it a bit more difficult for ourselves. But again, we got the 3 points in that game, and it's hard to criticise when you're getting 3 points, especially in games where there's not particularly much in it. It's not the most pleasing in the eye, but again, we've got the 3 points, which has been massive for us, and keep going back to it. We would be certainly when they've got that at the start of the season.
No, definitely not. But let's touch on that weakness area, because that's something that I've spoke to a lot of fans about kind of in detail, and we really do hate to single players out on this podcast. We really do. But that left hand side is a serious weak point, and it's now gotten to the point where every single game, the first thing the team do is switch it to their right hand side and go down the left. That's just what they've started doing, and I think, again, we'll talk about Saturday in a little bit, but that just epitomised it on Saturday. They stuck a quick, tricky wing back, and it just caused all sorts of problems. Their first goal comes from there as well.
I think the start of the season, when things weren't going particularly too good for ourselves, we always kept on going on about how our main... what we thought the main reasons for that was because we're ultimately playing with 2 centre-backs.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've changed the setup, we've brought in players, but that's had a massive difference. But now... it's just teams have obviously not got that scope to exploit in the manner in which they were previously, but it's the same thing that's just happening over and over again. It's just constantly, and surely when you're seeing opposition teams doing that on a far more regular basis, that screams out that something needs to change. And I don't know if, again, I hate signaling people out, but if Vankin's moving Shields to up front, and I've saw a few people making these comments, is he doing that because he's crying out for a striker, he's frustrated he's not got a striker, or is he doing that because he doesn't put trust in the other players that he's got that could be in that position? Or I really don't get it. Is it tactically because obviously people have spoken about Rankin's sort of inexperience as a manager. He's turned that around recently and can't really put him at that much fault. But for moving on to Saturday now, obviously there's been a lot of things to be positive about, and back at the football and enjoying the results, we've been good. But Saturday just wasn't good enough, and as soon as I saw, I left it 2-0,
right,
which unfortunately has become a recurring theme the past couple of years when I've never ever leave a football match. But when they 2 subs were made, that was just it for me. Like Smith and De Ball getting took off just made zero sense to me when you've got other players in the part there that are clearly causing far more issues than the good which they had scope to perhaps give. And then the other thing which I don't understand is, obviously we spoke about Dylan Stevenson, and how and I think in January we said he was going to be one of the players that we thought was going to be the best at the loan players that were signed. But if you're playing a left back who's getting destroyed all game up front instead of a boy from Newcastle on loan that scored in his debut, there's something no right there for me, in my opinion. And I think there's maybe a bit more to it than thinking Shields is a better striker than other ones. I think that the analogy of him saying I want a striker is maybe got something to do with that. I don't know.
Listen,
it's just weird.
I agree that there is something weird in there. I know that I've told a few people this, that John Rankin told me that when he was at Hearts and Shields was playing for Rangers, he was playing up top and he always caused issues. He was a good striker there. He always seemed to score. He caused them plenty of problems, and he didn't realise that was that Shields when he came into Accies until they had the conversation about it, and then they realised who was who. So Shields has played up top, and that's kind of when he came through youth. But I do agree with you that he's not playing well at left back. I think he's been getting protected because Dylan McGowan's there, and it lets Dan O'Reilly go out to the left to cover Shields, and then McGowan's in the middle to mop up. McGowan goes off injured against Queen's Park. We don't then have that security.
I think the sub was stupid there.
I think it's strange.
You went back to the 4 at the back, which has ultimately been the thing which has caused you so much issues and had us bottom of the league for such a long period of time. To go 4 at the back was just criminal on Saturday, and I feel that Queen's Park are obviously top of the league for a reason, but we didn't do ourselves any favours. I think Rankin, I've not heard any interviews or anything like that, but I think Rankin would surely be one of the first ones to admit that changes that were made and how the match unfolded, it was probably our own doing that we got to do. And
just on Shields at striker quickly, I agree that there's something not sitting right with Stevenson and Winter etc. being on the bench. Winter's somebody who will always say gives 100%. You can see the passion in him.
He's not been when he does play. There's no point in disagreeing. He's been pretty poor recently. Like,
100%.
I admit that, but he does give 100%. But have a left back in front of you, just it doesn't make any sense to me. There's obviously something there do
you think it would be, I know, and that this would be us just speculating here, thank you, but do you think there's an attitude problem there? Do you think there's a maybe Stevenson's not fitting in as well as he thought he did? Do you think Rankin's not getting what he wanted out of him? What do you think that could be? Because it doesn't make sense.
You've obviously mentioned there about sort of what he said to you about Shields, so maybe he's just getting more trust in Shields for whatever reason or other. Like you see a lot of people speaking about Chrissy McGinn, and maybe it is because Rankin, obviously when McGowan first came in, they put him as captain. So we know that certain managers have certain players that they prefer and they have more trust in, so maybe it's just a case of he puts his trust more in Shields than he does other people. I don't know. It's just complete speculation. Do you know what I mean? But I don't like singling people out. But he's. I think Shields would admit himself that there's a reason why people are targeting that side a lot, and he's got capabilities to obviously be better. So fingers crossed he can maybe turn it around a bit. But it's. I think come on next game we need to maybe see a wee change at left back, in my opinion, because. It's just over and over again. It's constant rinse and repeat, and it's causing far more problems than it is any good.
Well, let's talk about then the big game Friday night against Arbroath. Arbroath are bottom, we are second bottom. I believe only 2 points separates us, so it is an opportunity to put some space between us, not a huge amount, but put some space between us, and obviously catch up with Cove as well. He said they had a bit of change. Let's talk through the team then. So I'm assuming Ryan Fulton, Regan Tumulty.
And by the way, I think that's one person who we need to talk about what a sign he's been.
Regan Tumulty.
Okay.
Because I think I'll have a different opinion to you, so I'll let you.
All right, okay.
I think he's fucking shite. I'm kidding.
I think he's brilliant. I'm not going to lie. Just complete footballer, knows how to play the game, and a natural right wing back / full back. He's doing two jobs in the one and he's doing it very successfully. I don't know if it just looks like he's doing it so successfully because maybe the other side's not looking that successful.
Okay.
But no, I think he's such a difference with him playing there than you have the rest of the season. I think he's one of the most natural full backs / wing backs we've had in a long time. Quite a big statement, but I honestly do. I think he's been a great player. Watching him bomb down the wing, he gives such an attacking presence that obviously I think he probably won his game against Inverness at home.
Okay.
In my opinion, he got us a penalty and he nearly scored as well. I just think he offers a completely different dynamic to anything we've had all season, and he's been a brilliant signing for us.
I really like Regan Tumulty, right? So what I'm about to say, I don't want it to sound as if I don't like him, because I do, and if he were to sign him permanently, I'd be very happy with it. My opinion of it is, I think he's a good player, but I think because he is considerably better than Doyle, who we had obviously from the start of the season, I think he's seeming better than he is.
Okay.
That's my opinion. I still think he's good, and I agree with you. I think he probably did win his game against Inverness. And there's been moments where we flicks, last minute tackles and stuff in the last few games that I've thought quality, right? So that's not taking that away. But I think because Doyle has been poor for the start of the season, I think now we've got a decent right back in. We're now going, this guy's fantastic. I don't think he's at that stage yet. Not saying he can't get to it. And again, I would love him to stay permanently if that deal could be made. But I'm not at the stage yet where I think he's unbelievable. That's my own personal opinion. So the Arbroath game, we're sweating apparently over Dylan McGowan, whether he plays. See if he isn't fit, how do you line up? Because he is such an integral part to that defence.
You can't go for it back, put simple as that, regardless.
So is Easton coming in then?
Nah, I don't know how long Easton played today. I know he was in the starting lineup for the reserves team. That says to me McGowan will be fit, in my opinion.
Okay.
I saw what someone said, something about maybe they're getting
him fitness.
some games to give him a bit of fitness. I think Easton's got the legs to play 2 games in 3 days, in my opinion. So fingers crossed that means McGowan is fit. It's massive this game on Friday, and we really need him to be there. He's been fucking so crucial to our complete change of form and complete change of style and complete change of aggression and sort of having a bit more leadership in the park, and he's brought a lot more other players into a game who were absolutely rotten for the rest of the season.
I agree with
That's
that.
been a huge benefit of having him there, as he's brought other people into actually a game. So if he's not there, then we're fucked in my opinion. But I think regardless you would need to go 5 at the back. I think the 4 at the back doesn't work. We showed against Queen's Park there when we went to 4 at the back. We get absolutely run ragged. Just because you're a better team doesn't mean that was the reason in my perception of the Queen's Park game. As I say, we've made our own faults, and it was the 4 at the back as well, which just allowed them much more free will to do what they want. So we definitely need to. If McGowan's not there, then I would start Reaston.
Would he be left side or centre?
Centre.
I'd agree with that.
Centre, I would. So hopefully McGowan is there, but my line-up would be Fulton, Tumulty, Owens, McGowan, O'Reilly, McGinn, De Ball, Martin, Lawson, Martin, De Ball, Smith, Teehee, Stevenson. Was that too much?
That's 12.
Too much. Okay.
Listen, I would start with 12 players as well, mate.
Okay, so sorry, I would I would swap Lawson for Stevenson, so I would go Martin, De Ball, Stevenson, Teehee and Smith.
Interesting.
So a 5-2-3, if you like position that way.
I don't disagree, to be honest. I agree, Brian Chrissy McGinn. I like it. My only fear with Chrissy McGinn would be last time Shields had a poor game and then we then started him out, I think it was against Wraith Rovers. I think he absolutely shot himself. So that would be my own worry given how big of a game it is.
I suppose if you're playing McGinn left back, you'd maybe go with a bit more cover
Yep.
in midfield and maybe have, instead of having like Stevenson, have Lawson in the midfield as well. Do you know what I mean?
That stuff comes into it.
No, I just think it's unfortunate in Shields, but he's not been good enough recently. And he's coming into a lot of flack, and you just don't want to get that to a level where he's constantly being scapegoated. Do you know what I mean? Which it'll do some. It might do my favour having a redone out the team, or even being a sub and coming on. So that would be my logic behind it. I
want to ask you a question about Fergus Owens, who I think's been fantastic, really, really good, underrated actually. Doesn't get mentioned enough. I don't think Fergus Owens, especially given the fact that he's played a few games at right back as well and done very well. How do you think he compares to Jamie Hamilton? Because that was a talk. I think somebody tweeted me about it a few weeks ago, and I didn't reply because I spent a long time thinking about it. Now, obviously, Jamie Hamilton came through in the Premiership and stood out in the Premiership against the best teams in Scotland. That's where he stood out, right? But it's fair to say he was never consistent. Now, it's a lower level, granted. How do you think Fergus Owens compares to Jamie Hamilton? Because see if Jamie Hamilton can get fit, which by the looks of it, he can't. We're not going to see Jamie Hamilton, I think, by the end of the season. And is Fergus Owens our replacement? Is he the next kind of defender to come through the youth that will really push on?
I've been really surprised with him, because I think the first sort of couple of games you saw of him, I think the one that stands out to me in particular was the Morton. Yeah. The one we got absolutely annihilated.
Gave away a goal. Very nearly too.
And I just thought there was not no hope for him, but I thought that was like, rushing a young boy in, same usual. But again, that was before at the back, and I don't know if having that extra sort of calm, composed head and McGowan at centre backs really helped him come on. But no, I've been really surprised with him as well, just with the level of consistency. And he seems very comfortable in the ball. Like you say, he can play in that right centre back role and he can play in the right back role, where he's looked comfortable in both of them. He's on the ball, he's taking it forward, stuff like that. He's sort of
works well with him.
Looks composed the way he passes it and stuff like that. He's very confident. So no, he's been a good player, but I'm not putting him in any category or bracket next to Jamie Hamilton. I think obviously it's been really frustrating, the fact that Hamilton's been nowhere to be seen this whole season. It's just really, really annoying. And I'd like to think he'll be as annoyed as what we are, because we obviously maybe added to the weight that was on his shoulders, because we gave him such a promising bright future ahead, and listen, that can still be there. And I don't know what's the case with his injury, if he's getting a vehicle niggle or whatever's happening, but it's just really a shame to see, because I thought he had such high hopes, and fingers crossed we can get him back. But no, listen, if Owens keeps continuing the way in which he has, it's not fair for him to go out the team in any shape or form. I don't think he's done anything within the past 2 months 2 months, 1 month, whatever you want to position it, that warrants been taken out of the team. I think he'd be one of the very last ones to actually go out the team at the present moment, because of how consistent he has been. So no, fair play to him. I think he's still a very young boy, if my memory serves right.
He's only 20, 21 maybe.
You know what I mean? So I don't even think he has that, mate.
Let's Google it.
So no, he's been good.
His relationship with McGowan reminds me a little bit of Jamie Hamilton with Kilgallen. When Kilgallen came in, just an experienced head next to him to kind of talk him and walk him through games at times. When things get a little bit nervous, when our backs get to the wall, he just needs that experienced head next to him to lead him through, and that's the kind of vibe I get. He's only 19. Born in 2003.
Mad. Jesus Christ.
Brandon's having an existential crisis. Do you ever get that? But sometimes we're like,
you see fucking Player 2004 and you're like, what the fuck is going on, man? It's
see when Accies are like bringing debutants on, like 15, 16 year olds, and it's like 2009. I'm like, what the fuck, man?
But no, he's talking about relationships with people. You seem to have quite a close one with Dylan McGowan as well, I noticed.
That was the weirdest interaction ever.
I mean, it was actually me that said it, wasn't it? It was because you put up the the compilation of somebody's Twitter name of Dylan McGowan's horsecock.
Who, by the way, has messaged me since saying that
Dylan McGowan or Dylan McGowan's horsecock?
Dylan McGowan's horsecock. Well, right, Dylan McGowan's also messaged me, but we'll go on to that. Dylan McGowan, I said in the video, like, I think Dylan McGowan's horsecock. Sorry, I should stop saying that. The account used to be called, I said it was Steve Lawson's fan club.
Steve Lawson's third leg or something.
And he messaged me and was like, oh, the account was actually called Stevie Lawson's Hot.
Right, okay.
All right, okay. But yes, Dylan McGowan actually retweeted that and said, right, who's got a camera in the dressing room then? Great guy, Dylan McGowan. Great guy. Sorry. So back to the game against Arbroath. Huge game. How are you feeling ahead of it? Confident?
No, nervous. Very nervous. It's a massive, huge game. I think I'm a bit annoyed, not surprised how little publicity it's had and little advertising, but that's a different matter. But they've put in a great deal with it only being a fiver, and once again they're shooting themselves in the foot, in my opinion. It should be getting as documented as other sort of activities do, and hopefully get a really good crowd behind it. But it's just a huge fucking game. It's massive, and one that a win would mean so much, and it would create a wee bit of gap and start putting even more pressure in Cove. But a loss is what that will do to your confidence will be fucking so detrimental. So I don't even think a draw is a good enough result in my opinion.
So looking at the table, they're a point behind us. If it ends a draw, they'll go ahead of us in goal difference. Alternatively, if we win, it puts 4 points.
I think that's
clear.
Another point.
And relief from Cove,
getting beat off Queen's Park in the position we're in just now, goal difference wise, it's ultimately an additional point. How bad our goal difference is. So we really need to get a win on Friday, and fingers crossed we do. Friday night games are always good, but if my mind serves me right, from I don't know if you can classify BBC Alba as being live on TV, but remember they done that quiz with Ewan Summers, and we hadn't won our game live in telly, and God knows how long. I don't think you can classify BBC Alba.
I don't know. No comment. But I don't want to get dragged into that.
No, that's not. Listen, I love the Gaelics, but
I love the Gaelics. Never understand a word they're saying, but they're lovely people.
Sounds like me on a Saturday night, but better not say that. Cut that out.
No, I'm going to keep that. That's funny, man. That's going in the compilation as well for the video.
Well, I hope they don't take that to heart, because
I'll cut it.
my ancestor was Rabbi Bunch, so I don't know if that means anything.
By the way, I'll keep this in, but my gran, I'll cut you a bit, but
no, it's fine.
My gran was persistent that we were direct relations to William Wallace.
Right, okay, well, I know for a fact I'm direct relations to Rabbi Burns, and that wasn't even me.
Oh, really?
Yes, so Rabbi Burns' wife was called Jean Armour, who was related, sort of distant, blah, 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 to my papa. So I was kidding.
Wow.
I was related to Rabbi Burns. He is one of my ancestors.
That's crazy.
Jean Armour.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Aye.
Do you not think that's well cool?
I mean, it's alright, isn't it?
I think that's class.
That's definitely.
You would be a great, those TV shows. They had to get a history through your DNA, and they make a big graph of you, and it's like, here's you, and here's
Jean Armour and Rabbi Burns.
That would be class, man.
That would be good. No, Papa used to have a fucking family.
That's brilliant.
What's it called? Family tree.
Yeah. That's class.
Jean Armour.
My gran was
she'd all acquaintance and that.
He was an old acquaintance. My gran was persistent that we were related to William Wallace, and then when we tell her that William Wallace didn't have any recorded children, which he didn't. He didn't. You know, he might have done, but he didn't have any recorded children. She used to go, nobody fucking knows.
All right, okay.
All right, okay. Never mind. I won't ask you again. Anyway, back to the football. It is £5, so all the information will be in the description. You can find it on the Accies Twitter and the website and all that as well. Get down, support the team. It's only a £5 for everybody. That's adults, everybody. So get down, support your local side. It's a massive game. It'll hopefully be a good game of football, but if anything, tensions will be high.
It'll be,
so
it could be really good, I think. It'll be just a big bit of trouble the whole game. That's not like, I didn't mean that in a sort of violent sort of way. I just think it
might be, given the last way it went.
The last time it went, that was crazy. But no, I think it'll be, both teams will be out there to win.
Yep.
Don't want to lose. There'll be a lot of sort of digging in, fighting, and I think it'll be a good game of football. Obviously, you know what it's like when Dick Campbell and Ian Campbell are there as well. That just adds to it a wee bit. It's on TV.
That's the drama.
I think it'll be a really good night of Friday night football, and need as many people there as possible. Just hopefully by now until the end of then there's advertising a bit better, but fingers crossed, and hopefully the next time we're speaking about having a wee gap between ourselves and our growth.
Man. We are recording this on the 28th, last day in February, which is the last day that we can loan any players in. And we're sitting here still with no striker. We won't lean on this too much because we spoke a lot about it last week. Yeah. But we've still got no striker. The last we heard was they're still looking. Something might happen, but it's now 7 o'clock on the 28th, and there's nothing. So I can only assume that the team we've got at the moment is the team that we're going to end the season with. So talk to me a little bit about that, the disappointment of, again, going through another window without signing. Now, I say without signing a striker. We've got people like Dylan Stevenson in, right? But he's not playing, and he's not your out-and-out number 9 striker that we need. I
think we need another out-and-out number 9. I think he shows how tired he is after about 65 minutes, you know what I mean? And if we want to play in a certain style, then you need someone that's a sort of similar attributes and similar sort of stature, etc. Because he's not, well, he is lasting full 90 minutes, but he's absolutely puffing.
But he's been forced to last 90 minutes.
He's forced to be lasting them, so it would have been nice to have another striker in. I don't know how long we've been told we're going to be getting another striker. We do have forwards on the bench who are not really getting to come on, etc. But I think it's safe to say we're not going to be getting a striker in there. It's, as you said, 7 o'clock on the loan window, final day. I don't see us bringing another one. I think it's, I saw a few comments, people saying, they might live to regret it. And who knows, they might, but we'll just need to wait and see.
So we're going to end the podcast, Brandon. I've got 3 questions for you.
Okay.
Now, questions you haven't seen. They're not quiz questions. I'm not going to test you, but these are just 3 questions that I thought would be little good talking points for us, just to finish off. Nice, chill, happy podcast.
Okay.
Brandon, what 3 players do you wish that you could watch play for Accies again? Not necessarily bring them into the current team, but if you could watch 3 Accies players play for Accies again, who would those 3 players be?
Tony Andrew. All day long.
All day long. I think for everybody, it would be Tony Andrew.
Jose Kitongo. Just this type of player he was. And Mark McLaughlin.
Interesting. I wrote Tony Andrew.
Okay.
I also wrote Mark McLaughlin, but I wrote the Mac.
The Mac.
Because I feel like I need to bring him up every episode. Yeah. But it would be the Mac.
No, I think that should be mine. I think Tony Andrew obviously gave us some of our best ever time supporting Accies. I don't think we'll see those type of results in the manner of the results.
Yep.
Maybe even in our lifetimes again. Jose Kitongo, just because of how different a type of footballer he was. A very, very slight memory of some of the times I saw him. I saw obviously clips of how he played, etc. It's just not a type of player you ever see in the red and white Accies, so that was my reason. And Mark McLaughlin, I think it'd be unfair just to throw in attacking players within there, and I think when you talk about defenders, which we've had in the past, it just my mind serves me right, that season we get promoted first time around, we conceded 2 or 3 goals at home all season.
I know.
And he was good at going up the park as well.
100%.
So no, that's my reason why.
I think I've told the story a few times, but just quickly, I remember telling my grandpa one day when he wasn't well and wasn't going to games that Mark McLaughlin was our top goal scorer, because he just scored from every free kick and every corner, man. It was unbelievable. If you could bring, kind of tying into the last question, if you could bring one former Accies player into this current team to make a difference, who would it be and why? So there's two ways to look at it. Do you bring in somebody defensively? Do you bring in somebody to liven up the attack?
So at the present moment?
So this is the current team as we stand right now. We can sign one former player. We can sign one player from Accies history. Who's it going to be? In their prime, I should say. Not as like a 45-year-old.
In their prime with Accies? Or
in the prime with Accies.
Okay. Richard Offield.
Oh, interesting pick. Mm-hmm. Tell me why.
Goals.
Goals.
I think Offield on the mark. Obviously, there's like players like I think we're sorted and not sorted in certain positions, but I think
it's definitely our weakest.
One of our weakest positions, in my opinion, and I think all you need in the Championship that we keep on going on about is a goal scorer. Offield is that when he was in his prime. So Richard Offield.
It's a good pick. I would say Stevie May.
Okay.
Same reason. Goals. And for Accies, he scored them. Mm-hmm. I think it's kind of a similar player to Andy Ryan, so it's almost an Andy Ryan replacement. But Stevie May. I love Stevie May when he's Accies. And finally, Brandon, just to tie us up, what has been your favourite Accies kit?
My favourite Accies kit?
You don't necessarily need to have owned it, but your favourite Accies kit? Or maybe one that stands out to you.
Obviously, there's a few that stand out to me from when I wasn't born or when I was at a very, very young age. But if I'm going with kits that I've sort of had or I've the Brazil one always stands out to me. There's obviously like the green and blue one, stuff like that, and some of the retro kits are lovely, and I'd love for Accies to bring out that one. But one that I've had sort of at that age was the Brazil one. I think very summery, you could wear it in your holidays. It was different to our usual sort of kits, so I am going with the Brazil one.
I used to love the Brazil one. Brazil one looked lovely. I always liked that the Inter Milan blue and black stands out just because how different that was for Accies. You don't really see that much. I always thought that looked nice. The green and blue one, everybody always brings up, but I think I like the green and blue one. It was obviously before my time, but I like the green and blue one. Maybe stands out for me because I have it, and so because I have it and I wear it, it's like it maybe means more. But even though I didn't see them playing it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I think those are good picks, mate. But we'll round off with one thing. I want you to look down the camera, and I want you to tell people about the £5 ticket, and I want you to get them to the game on Friday night.
I thought you were going to ask me to fucking recite Old Lang Syne.
You can do that as well if you want.
So we're playing Friday, home to Arbroath, only £5, and I bought them a table clash. I need as much fans there as possible. Hopefully get the place pretty much jumping like it is when there's other sort of activities going on. But no, we need as much support there as possible. It's a £5. What else you got to be doing on a Friday? It's on the TV. There'll be a lot of silliness. There'll be a lot of sort of big bits of trouble, and it's Scottish football, isn't it? And aye, fuck it, get along. What?
Fucking get along. That's the slogan to go with it. Fuck it. Get along. Accies are both, man. £5. Fuck it. Get along. Well, thank you everybody for watching and for listening. Really appreciate it. As always, hit subscribe down below. Follow us on all our socials. Everything is in the description. Hope you enjoyed. We'll see you again soon.